Known as the Butcher of Plainfield and the Plainfield Ghoul, Ed Gein made quite the impact on the public. Raised in Plainfield, Wisconsin, Gein experienced isolation in the strangest form. With an alcoholic deadbeat father and a cruel religious mother, Gein spent most of his time on the farm. His mother would not let him have relationships or friendships, and he only left the farm for school. After the deaths of his father and brother, Gein was left to take care of Augusta. Augusta experienced a series of paralyzing strokes and died in 1945, which caused Gein to become increasingly deranged. 2 years after Augusta's death, Ed began visiting local cemeteries and digging up graves of women who reminded him of his mother. David Horspool writes, over the next 10 years he amassed a collection of body parts from at least 15 women, 2 of who he killed himself. The purpose was to construct a new version of his dead mother, which Gein then inhabited himself when he wore the skin suit and other body parts and danced in the moonlight. In 1957, Ed was arrested after police found local store clerk Bernice Warden's headless, gutted body in the farmhouse. Ed led police to the graveyard he had been digging from and confessed to the killings of 2 women. Police reported that Ed did not seem to understand that he had done anything wrong. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia before being committed to a mental hospital. Ed was pronounced fit to stand trial 10 years later, but was found not guilty by reason of insanity. Gein was returned to a secure hospital where he spent the rest of his life until he died in 1984. His gruesome crimes inspired numerous films and books, as well as gained worldwide notoriety. Gein left an impression by inspiring major characters in films like Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, Tobe Hooper's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Jonathan Demm's The Silence of the Lambs. All 3 are considered influential to the horror genre and set a new standard for horror films during their times. It is difficult to sort out Gein's impact on society. Even though Ed Gein's crimes were horrific, were they muted or even watered down due to his contribution and inspiration for these 3 major films and their franchises? Ed Gein committed acts of horrific nature which in turn also created a platform for a new standard of horror films. Was Ed Gein in a way an aid to society or simply a terrible occurrence that the media then turned into profit? What is Gein's role in modern film? Through analyzing these 3 films and their impacts, Gein's influence can be examined. In 1960, Alfred Hitchcock released his film Psycho, adapted from Robert Bloch's novel. Bloch lived 40 miles away from Gein's farmhouse and found it fascinating that someone could commit such atrocities, live in a small community, and get away with it for years. Gein strongly influenced the character Norman Bates, from his overbearing mother to his murdering downfall. Psycho almost romanticizes Ed Gein's life in a way that only Hollywood can. Played by the handsome Anthony Perkins, Norman Bates is a shy boy who lives in his mother's shadow. Deeply disturbed, Norman embodies most of Ed Gein's story. As stated by Revel, both Gein and Psycho's protagonist, Norman Bates, were solitary murderers in isolated rural locations. Both had deceased domineering mothers and had sealed off one room of their house as a shrine to their mother, and both dressed in women's clothing. According to Horspool, Augusta's force of personality was such that Gein became totally and unhealthily dependent of her.
Do you go out with friends?
Well, a boy's best friend is his mother.
Psycho quickly became an American horror franchise. Psycho, Psycho 2, Psycho 3, Bates Motel, Psycho 4 The Beginning, and a 1994 remake of the original film. A&E also had a 5-season TV series called Bates Motel, which was the modern reboot of the original film in 2013.
Oh, Mother, what have I done?
The film series made $376.3 million worldwide. In 1974, Tobe Hooper released his film The Texas Chainsaw Massacre about a group of friends who fall victim to a family of cannibals. Marketed as a true story to bring in a large audience and as a subtle commentary on the era's political climate, the plot is actually entirely fictional. However, the main antagonist, Leatherface, and a few minor plot details are inspired by Ed Gein. Such details include Leatherface's attraction to human skin. He wears a mask made of human flesh, and in the film, the friends find a room full of furniture made out of human bones and skin. Some of the items found in Gein's farmhouse were human skulls mounted on bedposts, human skin lampshades and a chair upholstery, human skullcap bowls, a mammary vest made out of skin from a woman's torso, a belt made from human nipples, socks made from human flesh, and other horrific creations. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise consists of 8 films, many comics, and even a video game adaptation. Leatherface and his psychotic cannibal family are the focus of the franchise, and they terrorize their unsuspecting victims, killing and cannibalizing them. The series has grossed $304.6 million at the worldwide box office.
It rubs the lotion on its skin. It does this whenever it's told.
Mister, my family will pay cash. Whatever ransom you're asking for, they'll pay it.
It rubs the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again.
In 1991, Jonathan Demme released his film The Silence of the Lambs about an FBI agent who goes to an imprisoned Dr. Hannibal Lecter to help track down another serial killer, Buffalo Bill. Buffalo Bill, or Jim Gum, hunts down his female victims and skins them to sew their flesh together into a skin suit. This is a direct relation to Ed Gein, as he also had a similar fascination. The film is based on Thomas Harris's second book in the Hannibal Lecter series, The Silence of the Lambs. Harris admits to being inspired by 6 real-life serial killers for Gum's character: Jerry Brudos, Ted Bundy, Gary Heidnik, Edmund Kemper, Gary Ridgway, and Edward Gein. Harris was influenced by Gein, fashioning trophies and keepsakes from the bones and skin of corpses he dug up. He was also inspired by the female skin suit and skin mask that Gein was working on. The Silence of the Lambs film grossed $272.7 million worldwide against its $19 million budget, and was only the third film to win Academy Awards in all top 5 categories: Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Director, and Adapted Screenplay. All 3 films were widely received, critically acclaimed, and original works with inspiration and influence from the Butcher of Plainfield, Ed Gein. This is evident through the common threads in each film of Gein's mommy problems and his obsession with women, his love of creating trophies and keepsakes from his victims, and his desire to create a woman's skin suit as well as become his mother or a woman in general. The tortured rural outcast inspired famous timeless characters such as Norman Bates, Leatherface, and Buffalo Bill, some of the most iconic horror film killers in filmography. Ed Gein has left a legacy long after himself, one ingrained in modern film and in American history. The use of Ed Gein as a reference in so many pop culture films begins to make his name too comfortable in the modern home. Society has taken a murderer and used his actions for entertainment. As Horspool wrote, there are plenty of murderers who have killed more times than Ed Gein, but few have left a deeper impression on American culture.